In the mid-20th century, towering symbols of progress rose across the globe. Architects and governments promised a new era of housing, modern, efficient, and equitable. These concrete giants were meant to replace slums, uplift communities, and redefine urban life. But within decades, many of these structures lay in ruins. Their collapse was blamed on design flaws, but the truth runs deeper. This is the story of modern public housing. The birth of modern public housing. Modern public housing was born from a marriage of idealism and necessity. Visionaries like Le Corbusier reimagined cities as sunlit towers surrounded by parks, a rebuke to Dickensian slums. After World War II, governments worldwide embraced these ideas. High-rises promised efficiency, housing the masses quickly, cheaply, and hygienically. But efficiency came at a cost. The 1949 U.S. Housing Act tied public housing to slum clearance, displacing black communities into segregated towers. Budgets were slashed, no playgrounds, no quality materials. Skip-stop elevators and streets in the air became sites of crime, not community. Yet architects were not the masterminds. They were handed impossible tasks to build utopia on starvation rations. To understand why modern public housing failed, we must look beyond bricks and mortar to the people, policies, and prejudices that shaped these towers. From the United States to Hong Kong, governments and architects promised utopia, only to deliver dystopia. Let's examine iconic projects like Pruitt-Igoe, Red Road Flats, the Parisian banlieues, Kowloon Walled City, and Chicago's Cabrini Green. Each tells a story of ambition, abandonment, and the systemic forces that turned homes into battlefields. Pruitt-Igoe, once hailed as a marvel of modern design, fell victim to racist policies and austerity. Segregated, underfunded, and abandoned, it became a scapegoat for architectural failure, a myth that ignored redlined maps and slashed budgets.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
For decades, towering symbols of progress have crumbled into symbols of despair. From St. Louis to Glasgow, Paris to Chicago, modernist public housing became shorthand for failure. But these collapses were not accidents. They were systemic. This is the story of how housing became a battleground of policy, power, and neglect, and how communities are rewriting its future. In the 1960s, Glasgow, the Red Road Flats soared as beacons of post-war optimism. Designed by architects Sam Bunton and Robert Matthew, these 31-story towers were among Europe's tallest residential buildings. Bunton envisioned them as vertical villages, a modern solution to overcrowded tenements. But the dream soon soured. By the 1980s, unemployment and deindustrialization hollowed out communities. The flats, poorly insulated and starved of upkeep, became iceboxes in winter and ovens in summer. Architecturally, they were marvels. Socially, they were time bombs. In France, the banlieues, suburban housing estates, were born from Le Corbusier's modernist utopia. Architects like Émile Ayot designed sprawling complexes like Le Courtillère, promising sun, space, greenery. But by the 1980s, these estates became warehouses for North African migrants and working-class families, isolated from jobs and services. The 2005 riots exposed their reality. Towers of concrete, yes, but also towers of exclusion. Kowloon Walled City was modernism's dark twin, a self-built labyrinth housing 33,000 people in just 6.5 acres. No architects, no blueprints. Yet its 1994 demolition revealed the same truth. When governments abandon communities, chaos thrives. Hong Kong's chief architect, Tony Lam, called it a lesson in the cost of neglect.
Almost 10 years. From time to time, in my dream, I went back home. In my dream, I went back to the Kowloon Walled City. I hated the place, honestly, but it was home. It It was the place that really shaped me and my character.
In Chicago, Cabrini Green became America's most infamous housing project. Designed by modernist architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, its clean lines and open spaces promised a break from tenement squalor. But by the 1980s, it was a symbol of urban decay, a casualty of racial segregation, disinvestment, and political neglect. The city's plan for transformation demolished Cabrini Green in the 2000s, replacing it with mixed-income housing. Yet critics argue it was less about renewal, more about erasing the poor.
What the city should do is come down, create a plan, open these back up.
For the last, 10 years, those families have been living next to those boarded up apartments.
Author Ben Austin has chronicled the changes at Cabrini Green in his book, High Risers.
It put people in a really precarious, dangerous situation.
So, what connects these disasters? A toxic cocktail of austerity, racism, and profit. Modernist towers were built to warehouse the poor, not uplift them. Governments slashed maintenance budgets. Architects became pawns in a game of cost-cutting. Tenants, disproportionately black, immigrant, and working class, were blamed for antisocial behavior, while policymakers evaded accountability. This is not a design problem. It is a moral one. As Catherine Bristol wrote, "The myth of Pruitt-Igoe distracts us from the real failure, a society that refuses to house its people with dignity." Yet amid the rubble, new models are rising. Vienna taxes luxury apartments to fund social housing for all. Teachers, artists, and retirees share streets where dignity. Barcelona rips up highways to build superblocks, reclaiming streets for people, not cars. Detroit's communities, abandoned by policy, are reclaiming land, proving grassroots can outgrow concrete. Singapore's Housing Development Board houses 80% of its population, blending strict anti-speculation laws with vibrant multicultural hubs. These are not architectural miracles. They are political revolutions. The towers of the past held a warning. Housing cannot thrive as a commodity. It must be a covenant, a promise that shelter is not a privilege for the wealthy, but a right for all. The answer isn't in concrete or steel. It's in policy that values people over profit, community over control. From Vienna's streets to Detroit's soil, the future is being written by those who dare to imagine. Housing not as a problem to demolish, but a promise to rebuild. The myth was never about architecture. It was about who we choose to see. The future. The towers of the past failed because they were built on lies. Lies that design alone can save us. That poverty is a personal failing. That profit should dictate shelter. Today's housing crisis, homelessness, gentrification, unaffordable rents, demands a reckoning. The solution is not better buildings. It is better systems. Funding without prejudice, policies without greed, and power placed in the hands of communities. The rubble of Pruitt-Igoe holds a warning and a promise. We can build towers of hope, but only if we first dismantle towers of inequality.